What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Love and Marriage Huntsville, Season 4, Episode 11, Mission Impossible Road to Utah. Side note, I thought when Tiffany talked about going to Utah to go find her biological father, that she was going to go to the state of Utah, not Utah, Alabama, which is like up the road. So I felt really stupid when I saw in this episode that they're just going to Utah, Alabama. Never heard of Utah, Alabama. And so I just assumed that they were talking about Utah, the state. Moving on. So Tiffany and Lewis. Tiffany has invited her adoptive parents over to her house to let them know that she's going to be on this quest to go find her biological father. Now, she was worried that maybe her parents would not have been supportive of her quest. So she tells them what she's planning on doing, and her mother says that she herself didn't meet her own father when she was in her 30s. So she understands, what Tiffany's going through, and her mom is in full support of her finding her biological father. Now, Tiffany's adoptive father, he kept it all the way 100. He was like, well, first of all, I never wanted you to know that you were adopted because I thought that, you wouldn't love me anymore if you knew that I wasn't your real dad, and that, if you go try to find your real parents, that I would never see you again. So when he said that, that was really like heartbreaking to hear. And it made me feel kind of emotional to hear this man. He was so worried about losing his daughter. But Tiffany said that her adoptive parents are her real parents and that she would never leave them. She would never desert them for anybody, for any reason. And what's so special about, of course, the adopted and about this whole adoptive relationship is that the parents chose this child. They wanted to be parents to this child, which is, more than what can be said for a lot of biological parents. So both of her parents are in full support of her going to go find her biological father. And also, I haven't been a big fan of Tiffany until this moment here. Now, this particular scene made me like her, and it made me see her in a completely different light, because this is Tiffany being Tiffany. This is Tiffany doing something for herself instead of meddling in other people's business and just being a catalyst for other people's drama. This is her, staying in her own lane, concentrating on her own life, doing her own thing. And this is a very interesting story. Whether she finds her biological father or not, the journey itself to me is very, very interesting, and I'm here for it. So, she also mentions that her mother had given her a name initially of who her potential biological father could be, but when they did the DNA test, he wasn't the guy. And what's important to Tiffany in finding her biological father is for medical reasons. She really wants to know her medical history because the man who she thought was her father, he had sisters that were prone to breast cancer. And that is something that, Tiffany would need to know for herself, to know to information to give to her doctors, to know that she needs to be checked earlier than others, more often than others, if it runs in your family. So yeah, so she says she's really doing this quest really because it's for medical reasons, and of course she also just wants to know who this man is and see, where she came from, all in all. So moving on from that, Wanda, Letitia, and Marcel. So Wanda has taken Letitia and Marcel to come look at the food truck that she wants to buy. Now, this is an old, dilapidated, 150-year-old food truck, or some type of truck. I don't know. You can barely tell what it is. It is so old and it's so broken down. You can barely tell what the hell it is. So this is what she wants Marcel and Tisha to invest their money in. Marcel looked at this and he was like, yeah, I don't think so. This does not look like a good business plan. So Tisha's like, I don't really care what you think because you wanted to go into business with Martel, and Martel almost ruined our family. So there's nothing wrong with us going into business with my mom. And Marcel says, well, your mom almost ruined our family because, she came to me with some nonsense. Oh no, she came to you with some nonsense, and then you came running to me questioning me. So your mom almost ruined our family. And so Tisha says, well, my mom is just reacting from what she reads online. Tisha, no ma'am, no ma'am. That makes you and your mom look stupid. For her to conduct her life, or for you to conduct your life based on what you're reading online on Instagram or Twitter, no, that's not what we're doing. That's not what real grown folks do. You can't do that because one minute they'll love you, the next minute you'll hate you. And if you follow whatever's being said about you online, you're going to lose your mind because you're not going to know what to think. You're not going to know which way you're going. So of course, Marcel was like, "Well, I don't give a damn what people are saying online." But another thing for Tisha to compare going into business with Wanda, like going into business with Martel, to me it's apples and oranges, because Martel, with all his mess and all his drama, is still a businessman at the end of the day. And Tisha, you worked with him at one point. Y'all were all in business together. Remember the comeback group? So you felt confident enough in Martel at one point to go into business with him. So don't use all this personal stuff to kind of like label him as someone who's not worthy of going into business with, because you've been in business with him before. And he's a businessman. He's proven himself. Your mom is not a businesswoman. She has no business history. So Marceau should be cautious about giving her, all this money to fix this food truck. Marcel also asks her, "Are we giving her the money, or are we just loaning it to her?" And Tisha was like, "No, we're giving it to her." At the end of and Marcel says, "Yeah, no, I'm not going to do it. If this was a regular business plan, I wouldn't go for it. I wouldn't give $40,000 to get this truck ready for her business, because it's going to cost 40 grand to take care of everything from top to bottom." Now, he's talking and he's trying to be all big and tough, and we all know at the end of the day Marcel's going to give that damn money, because I think Marcel has a guilt complex, or a guilty complex, because he knows that he's up to no good, and he knows he's got to do what he's got to do to keep his wife happy. At the end of the day, Wanda's going to get every single penny of that $40,000, and it's going to be no strings attached. Moving on from there, Melody and Tiffany. So they're on their way to, they have arrived, I think, in Utah, Alabama. Now, on their way there, they're having a discussion, and Tiffany's giving Melody a little bit of background about her journey so far with finding her biological parents. She says that her biological mom had given her a name of a man who could possibly have been her father, but when they did the DNA test, the results were negative. And she tells Melody that once the negative test came in and she told her mom that this guy was not her father, her mom quit talking to her. Her biological mother quit talking to her. And I was like, damn, so you're going to abandon her twice? You gave her up for adoption, and then you just quit talking to her because the guy who you thought was her dad wasn't her dad. Like, what kind of sense does that make? What does it even matter now? And all of that is water under the bridge. Tiffany right now just wants facts. If the first guy wasn't it, please give her a second name. So I don't know if the second guy that she's going to go look for, I don't know if this information came from her mom or where it came from. So then she starts telling Melody about her wanting to have another baby. And Melody asks her, well, how does Lewis feel about that? And Tiffany says, well, Lewis feels like I'm too busy, and if I don't have enough time for him, how am I going to find time for a baby? And Melody was like, girl, if your man is telling you that he's feeling neglected, you need to pay attention, because we all know Melody's been down that road. So Tiffany's like, but I give him everything he wants. I go to work, I take care of my child or my children, because, she has a bonus son. And she's like, I do all of that. I'm a mom, I'm a wife. And then I come home and I give him all of myself, all of my attention, all of my time, whatever he wants, I'm down for it. So I don't know why he says that I don't have enough time for him. So she continues to talk. She talks so much that she put Melody to sleep. So when they get to Utah, Alabama, they go into the local newspaper place. Now that just shows how small of a town this is, because I don't know if you can go into a major city and just like walk into the place where they print the newspapers. I don't even know what they're called anymore, because a lot of news sources are online now. So I don't know. I don't know. But they walk into the local newspaper place, and the lady directs them to go look at some really old newspapers. And so I think they started looking at the year when Tiffany was born. I didn't understand why her birth would be in a newspaper. Why would that be announced in a newspaper? I guess I know they would give birth announcements in newspapers. I do remember that they would give birth announcements. They would give wedding announcements, engagement announcements. And of course we have the obituaries. The newspapers did give all of that, but it didn't give every single, maybe the town was so small that every single birth was mentioned. Maybe that's why she was looking at the newspapers, because I was like, why don't y'all just go on a database, where you can, a database where you pay a fee to look up information on people? Like, why didn't they start there? Because Melody talked about how she's like this web sleuth or detective. She's got this great investigation skills, and she can get down and dirty with trying to get information, and she knows how to find information, because she was probably, digging up information on Martel and all his mistresses. So she said she's really good at getting information. So why didn't y'all start with the internet? I didn't get that. Or better yet, hire a private investigator. To me that would have been a whole lot better. Probably a genealogist. There are people out there who do that genealogy thing if you're trying to find someone. There's so many modern sources and modern ways to find people, but they want to go, traipsing around in Utah, Alabama, Melody in her really good suit and okay, that's fine. So somebody in the newspaper, this older white gentleman, tells them that back in the day, like in the 70s, a black man would be lynched if it was found out that he got a white woman pregnant. And I think he said the 1970s that was happening still. But Tiffany was born in 1987. So I didn't understand the connection. I feel like he was just giving that information just to give information, just to kind of give like a historical perspective of what this town was all about. But I didn't understand how that was going to help her find her father because she was born in 1987. Unless, we have to assume that as recently as the 80s and 90s, they were still lynching black men for impregnating white women. Now that would make sense. So they got no information from the newspaper place. So then Melody was like, well, let's just go talk to some people. Maybe they have information because the town is so small that I'm pretty sure somebody knew Tiffany's mom. And lo and behold, the first person that they run into, they asked him, do you recognize this woman? And Tiffany shows them a picture of her mom. And he was like, yeah, I know her. So, yeah. So I guess, they're on the right track of trying to find her biological mom. But please don't rule out a private investigator or a database online. Moving on. So Wanda is having a menu tasting party. She has cooked everything on her menu and she's invited her whole entire family to come and do like a taste test to see, what's going to work and what's not going to work for her business. And I think her business is going to be like these gourmet baked potatoes. So Tisha and Marceau arrive, and Tisha first talks to her brother, and her brother tells her that him and his girlfriend are going to be expecting a baby. And Tisha was like, wasn't your divorce just finalized from your ex-wife, and now you got somebody pregnant? And yeah, he moves pretty damn fast. And so then she talks to her cousin Tiffany, and Tiffany tells her that she herself is going through a divorce. And Tisha was like, oh my God, you're going to be a single mom of 5 kids. And then I was thinking to myself, why is it an automatic assumption that when a woman goes through a divorce, now she's a single mom? I mean, the father's not going to be involved at all. He's just going to be like disappear into the night. He's not going to see his kids at all. They're not going to co-parent. They're not going to have 50-50 custody. None of that. It's just, okay, peace, I'm out. You go ahead and raise these kids by yourself, even though I was there and I raised them with you and I was there in the household with these children, but peace out. I didn't get that. So then we get to meet cousin Bernard. So cousin Bernard is this older gentleman who is Tisha's cousin. And Marceau claims he doesn't know who this man is, never saw this man before in his life, doesn't even know how he's related to Tisha. But cousin Bernard, as soon as he saw Marceau, he did not see it for Marceau at all. So he lasers in on Marceau from across the room, approaches Marceau and says, hey, you need to stop calling me a Dominican. I thought he said Dominican. He goes, you need to stop calling me a Dominican. Stop calling me a Dominican. And Marceau says, you mean a minion? And Marceau calls him a minion, one of Wanda's minions, because this guy acts just like Wanda, all up in people's business, all that stuff, just being real nosy. So I thought that was hilarious. So cousin Bernard, he's like, then he tells Bernard, don't stop disrespecting my family, talking about we came from the wrong side of the track. Because I think it was last season when Marceau was telling Tisha that her family was from one side of the track, I guess like the poorer side, and his family came from the other side of the track, the more well-to-do side. So Bernard saw that, and he was like highly offended. He was like, don't you disrespect my family by talking about we come from the wrong side of the track. So then Bernard mentions the motel picture, and he was like, was that you in that motel? And then Tisha's brother was like, what motel was that, Marceau? And so Marceau was like, do you want me to take off my shirt so y'all can see my back and make a comparison? You see, Marceau will ask the kind of questions that he knows are not reasonable questions, as if he's really trying to clear his name. So then the family just gathers around Marcel and they just start attacking him. They're calling him a cheater. They're shooting out questions. One of the cousins was like, how come whenever somebody asks you a question, your answer is, no, let me ask you a question. Why can't you just answer their question? And then cousin Tiffany comes around. Cousin Tiffany was like, Marcel, I just want to know, when Tisha comes to you with a concern, why don't you just, clear the air and give her a straight answer, and instead of like constantly beating around the bush, not giving her a straight answer. And Marceau says, if I was cheating, would I say no? And they're like, of course you would say no if you were cheating. So then he goes, so what the hell does it matter what I say? So he's basically trying to defend himself and not giving a straight answer, or not answering people's questions when that question comes up, either from Tisha or anyone else, because he's like, whatever I say, it's not going to matter, because if I was actually cheating, I wouldn't admit to it. So what does it matter? Marcel, here you go with the mind games and the word games, and like we're playing Scrabble over here or something. So Marceau says, for the fact that anybody will question me will show that there's a lack of trust. And that's the kind of mess that he puts on Tisha. Whenever Tisha questions him about his fidelity or the rumors that she sees on the internet, automatically he's like, well, you don't trust me? So you don't trust. So he turns it around. He gaslights her to make her feel some kind of way for even questioning him. So then Tisha steps in and she defends her husband. And then cousin Bernard was like, well, I beg to differ. Like, I don't agree with what you're saying, Tisha. He's not defendable. But at this point, Wanda says that the food is ready. So Bernard couldn't really go in on Marceau again. So everybody runs off to go eat. Tisha's brother goes to his mother, Wanda, and tells Wanda, he was like, well, mama, you're going to be a grandma again, because Krishan is pregnant. And Miss Wanda was shocked. And so the brother says something like, I thought you already knew, or something like that. And Wanda was like, no, this is news to me, because the last time we talked about it, you said that y'all thought she might be pregnant, but y'all didn't know. And so the brother was like, yeah, we took a pregnancy test and it came up positive. So we got to get this food truck going, because I'm going to need this money to take care of these kids. And Miss Wanda was like, you're going to need more than a food truck. So he must have a lot of kids. Wow. And so everybody sits down to start eating, and the brother sits next to Marceau, and he starts talking about the truck. And so he's like, yeah, Marceau, we gonna need this food truck to, we need to start this food truck business pretty soon. And Marcel's like beating around the bush, not really giving him a straight answer about the money. And so then cousin Bernard, he's got those solar ears, he heard everything. And so cousin Bernard was like, Marcel, you're just cheap. You don't want to help nobody. You don't want to give nothing to nobody. You're just cheap. Give a straight answer. Are you going to give the money or not? Yes or no? Stop beating around the bush. So cousin Bernard does not see it for Marcel at all. He's got his whole foot on Marcel's neck. So at this point, Kiki comes in like, wow, Marcel was saved by the damn bell when Kiki walked in. So Kiki walks in and sits down next to Tisha. And in his confessional, Marcel was like, when I saw Kiki walk in, he goes, I knew that it was about to go down. And so that is where this episode ended. Lord have mercy. I cannot wait till Saturday. Hopefully I'll be able to watch it on Saturday. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I just don't know what to say about. I could not believe that family was attacking him like that. And I know that Tisha, once again, probably liked it because, other people have the guts and the backbone to come to Marceau aggressively like that, because she can't do it. Because as soon as she questions her husband about anything, the first thing he tells her is, they're just jealous. They're just trying to destroy us because we're a powerful black couple. We're black excellence, and they're just jealous. And she eats that up. And so she starts off with, Marceau, did you do this? Marceau, the internet says this. Marceau, is this you in this picture? And then it ends with, you're right, Marcel. They're just jealous because they can't break us up. We are a strong black couple. They can't do nothing to us. You're right, Marcel. That is my review. Thank you so much for joining me. If you made it this far, I really do appreciate it. On your way out, don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, subscribe. If you don't worry about it. Thank you for stopping by anyway, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.